Good morning, Dan and Amy.
Good morning, Dan.
Oh, it is. And so last night, Bill Curtis and Tiny Dancer dined on tall grass-fed beef while feeding Chicago Bull Jive.
Hey.
How about it? 40-some stations, including this one, hosting a half-an-hour infomercial that rivaled that god-awful CNN series produced by Bobby Redford. And
with Mark Gonkel.
And why my Mark Gonkel? Chicago's a city that plays hard and works hard. Terrible. Terrible
did you say
agitprop.
Plays hard and works hard.
Yeah.
I
Give me a
like Mark
break.
Gonkel, but he's a better writer than on air.
I mean, are we going to continue indulging this? Here are the words of wisdom from one ballerina.
I've seen it 100 times with a little nudge, moral guidance, the grounding these kids need. They all pick the right path, not the wrong path.
Is he crying?
Pick the right path, not the wrong path. That's what the kids need. They need Rom's moral instruction. You know, what do the cops need? They need to be supported, to be woven into the tapestry of the community. They're not policing. They're part of the community. They need to earn it. I mean,
I'm so excited, Dan.
Honestly, are we going to be suckers to this obvious reputation reclamation project that Tiny Dancer is on? Is it obvious to everybody, or is it just me?
This is a free campaign announcement for him. Free campaign ad, I should say.
Well, let's get get perspective from a grizzled political veteran. He's our friend Charles Thomas, ABC7 political reporter, joins us now. Charles, thanks for being with us.
Hey, man, look, I got a question.
Okay.
Did the stations get paid?
I don't know.
For that?
Charles, I asked our program
hit the nail on the
director.
head. It was a straight-up infomercial.
Yeah,
Totally.
shocking.
I mean, it was...
And Bill Curtis didn't push him. Boy, what a surprise!
Wow, and the questions were set in ahead of time.
No, it was a setup. It was scripted. I mean, that sounded so scripted to me. And those of us who cover the mayor, well, I think I can speak for them. Those are all the talking points that we've heard for the past 6 months. There was absolutely nothing there new. But what I find really intriguing about it is that it had to have been planned for several weeks to get this done.
Yeah.
So did they know at the time they were planning it to do it 6 days after the election that Donald Trump would be elected president of the United States, and it would all seem so insignificant? But were they thinking when they planned to do it that Hillary Clinton would have been elected and that Rom would be speaking in this grand blue light about, number one, his accomplishments and all this great stuff he was talking about, and that he would be sharing the blue light of victory with Hillary Clinton at the time?
Well,
was that part of the planning?
Well, this is what I can tell you. We just learned from our program director that we did not get paid, that he objected to taking it, but he was overruled, and this has been planned for 2 months.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it had to be. You're right, Charles. It had to be planned. That's planned. That's interesting. Yeah. So what about this though? Too, was it to your point, Charles? He was going to bask in the blue light of victory along with Hillary. Was this going to be? Was that going also to be a segue to this rebranding of Rom that's going to take years and leading up to 2019 if he wasn't, plucked for D.C. by a victorious Hillary?
Exactly. This was almost a legacy moment for him to say, hey, this is what I did, and I'm on my way to the next episode, and I'm going to be helping, Hillary in Washington. I don't know if that was part of it, but it could have been. So here he was doing this self-adulation 30 minutes without a safety line. He's out there on his own. I mean, man, it reeked of desperation.
But I still can't.
It really did.
I know, but did you learn anything at all from that 30 minutes? I mean, was anything new, any little nugget of information, Charles?
Well, he repeated the statements he had made earlier in the day at Lurie Children's Hospital when he talked about Chicago remaining a sanctuary city.
Right.
and he was all for that. Although after that meeting, that news conference, when we wanted to ask him critical questions about how he would raise money if the president, as he has vowed, to cut federal funding to those sanctuary cities for those programs that serve illegal immigrants, what would he do? He literally quick-stepped out of that press conference. He would not stop, would not talk, even though he had just made these statements. Some of the other people there, Luis Gutierrez and a couple of aldermen, they did hang around and answer questions, and they actually said they'd be willing to raise taxes to sustain programs in the city of Chicago for illegal, undocumented immigrants.
Yeah, I watched your report.
But the mayor didn't address that.
Yeah, your reaction when 15th Ward Alderman Lopez said that about raising taxes, your reaction was priceless.
Oh, there's always
room.
There's always money to be had. I mean, Tiny Dancer's Toady Forrest over at CPS, more resources for CPS for students coping with an electoral outcome that they didn't anticipate. Boy, there's always money when it's time to play politics with favored constituencies.
Yeah, it was a very empty-sounding press conference because there were not any details about how they would maintain the whole sanctuary city status when we all know that the law says that the federal government, and solely the federal government, has control over matters affecting immigration. And they were flying in the face of basically the law. I mean, the law says the federal government has control over immigration, who comes and who enters and who enters the country. And you have them white-knuckling this. They're just trying to hang on so desperately in the face of what basically the American people have said on the subject at this point.
Well, so is it clear to you that Rahm is running for re-election in 2019? I mean, I know this 3 years down the road, 2 years down the road now, but I mean, he's going to need those 2 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he'd like to at this point, but I think he has to make some serious reassessments about everything, given what happened in the past 6 days or a week ago. Quite frankly, he's going to have to regroup. I think he did this because he was this event last night because he was committed to do it. And I think the whole calculus toward making the decision to do it, I think they presumed that Hillary Clinton would have been elected president, and she wasn't. And again, he sounded just so insignificant last night.
Yeah, he didn't sound powerful. But so we're learning more information from our program director, Charles, and I know you'd love this. He said that the mayor dictated the terms of the interview and that he refused to take live calls. And then I responded, what would happen if we didn't comply as a station? And he said nothing. It was a radio industry PR stunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole business of reading questions from Twitter, I mean, I think the technology is here for people to call in live to radio stations and have the person. Isn't that the way it works these days?
Yeah, we do have that technology. Yes, we do. That's a good point.
And why wouldn't you use that for what you want to call a town hall?
Well, I mean,
that wasn't come on.
Yeah.
And he only agreed to do it if he could be at City Hall his protected little nest.
Well, I thought the question that Curtis asked, "Why are you so great?" I thought that was pretty hard hitting. Let me ask another
Followed
question.
Up by you, the man.
Yeah. What
makes you tick?
Do you think your worst quality is that you care too much, Mr. Mayor? Charles, I want to get your take on state level for a minute while we have you. The progress, +4 in the House, +2 in the Senate, that was made by Republicans and by extension the governor on November 8th, out of the superminority in the House. But Madigan's not showing up for a budget meeting that Governor Rauner wanted to have. Do you see this impasse, not having a budget, just a series of stopgap budgets, continuing until the 2018 election? Madigan has no interest in a budget.
Well, he certainly has given that indication early on when he would not attend the meeting yesterday. Apparently, he's going to attend a meeting today. Yesterday, that sounded like a total hissy fit that he just that he was having some kind of tantrum. I think public reaction has pretty much forced this meeting today. What could be more important than sitting down after the election and talking and getting back to work? What was he doing yesterday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon that was more important than what's going on in Illinois right now? I'm talking about the Speaker of the Illinois House, reputedly the most powerful person in Illinois. What was more important at 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon that he had to do? And he hasn't told us that. But what could have been more important? People should ask themselves that question for him.
Maybe he was preparing his 2015 tax returns for release. So now that Rauner's released his tax returns, Madigan will undoubtedly release his after all of the.
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting to see.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, I think you have to ask yourself, what was he doing that was more important, other than we can maybe think having a hissy fit
and
over having lost these 4 seats in the House and his supermajority or any hopes for a supermajority. And losing some fairly important state reps, particularly those downstate.
John Bradley, yeah. And what does it also say about his real interest in trying to find any path to a constitutionally balanced budget with the governor?
Exactly. I mean, if anything, the meeting yesterday would have been symbolic for him that he's truly interested in resolving the impasse. Not to go to the meeting, come on. And then Cullerton taking his lead.
Well, of course, dutifully.
And Cullerton has even said it, and apparently the governor has said that Cullerton told him, here I go, third. he said that Cullerton takes his lead from the Speaker. And he didn't show up yesterday, so it looked...
Well, I guess
there's a chance this could go on until 2018.
Well, sure. They had to put on their new safety pins.
Well, yeah, but I'll tell you what. I mean, for them, Chicago and the suburbs, nothing changed. So why should they be chastened at all? I suppose. Charles Thomas, ABC7 political reporter. Thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.